You need to find out how you're going to do it.
That's pretty awesome, actually.
But I think it's pretty
life
awesome.
lesson. That's a serious life lesson.
100%.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Airbnb Nomads podcast. And on this week's Property Education Masterclass, we're joined by the incredible Umesh Kalra. Now, Umesh is going to tell us his story about how he left his corporate job and moved into a full-time property career building HMOs to the point where he now owns and manages over 60 HMO projects, and he can do the exact same thing for you. All you need to do is find the money. He'll do the rest. Amazing, amazing story. Guys, if you get value from this episode, if you get knowledge from this episode, I would ask that you please follow the show and leave us a review. I'd really, really appreciate it. If you've got any questions around serviced accommodation, please leave that question in the review. We'll read that review out on the podcast, answer the question, and give you a shout out on the show as well. Until that time, get comfortable. I can't wait for you to hear this. It's a great, great episode. Here we go. Umesh, thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
No, thanks for coming. I'm super excited. I love your story. I get a lot of people reaching out. A lot of people want to come on. Some stories resonate a little bit more than others. Your story, again, from employee to now full-time property investor, seven-figure portfolio, right? Six-figure income.
Correct. That's it.
But the thing that really kind of resonated alongside that, it's amazing anyway, but the fact that, you spoke about your family, your two beautiful kids, you're a family man, this is why you're doing it. So I wanted to get you on to highlight the story, and not so much the story, but the steps, the process of what you did, because this podcast for me is all about giving the blueprint to the people at home that are in a position where they're not fulfilled, they're not happy, they're in a job that really isn't serving them, and they look at people like you and I believe pedestalize people in a fashion where they think, what the hell's this guy got that I haven't got? How have they done that? How, there's no way that I could do it. And this show is all about showing these people that at home that they can do it too. So thanks for coming on. I'm really interested and excited to hear your story. I will just say we've got the dog in the studio today again.
I love it.
Bring your dog to work day. So if there's any slurping or woofing or whining, you're just going to have to suck it up. Because
well, I'm glad you made that disclaimer.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
it
the
won't
dog.
Get cast, it was me.
It's the dog. It's not Umesh. So, but he's mega cute. So who cares? So, mate, again, thanks for coming in. Why don't we start with take us back to what you was doing before you got into property? I know you was in the banking world. Why don't we start there?
That's a really good shout. Now, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll rewind a little bit further, actually. So I finished uni 2003, and literally the last 6 months of my university, I grouped up all my friends. But I never did this consciously. So I did this afterwards. But I subconsciously, I was looking at all my friends, what they had, what they didn't have. And most of them were bribed by their parents. Okay. It was like, if you pass this exam, if you get this degree, we'll get you your deposit for your house. House was a common kind of bribing factor.
So they were going to buy their kids a house?
They were going to pay for the deposit for
what kind of school do you go to?
Right? And I was just like, okay, this is amazing, right? And then, 2 years before it was if you pass your driving test and you pass these exams and you get into university, we'll pay for your car.
Okay.
And then it was you pass your degree and you get yourself a good job,
right,
we'll pay the deposit for your house.
Okay.
But house was the common thing at uni. And when at the time I didn't do it, but I did it afterwards. And I looked at my friends, and it was like, you had the group of friends that had new bags, new jackets, they had new phones and so on. So you might think they've got a rich life. But actually what I noticed was they had the abundance mindset. You'd go out for a drink, and you do at uni, and they'd be the first ones to say, can I get you a drink? What would you like? Okay. They'd be buying the rounds in.
Right.
And then those that didn't offer that drink.
Held on to the pennies.
Held on to the pennies,
Nipped to the bathroom when the rounds came up.
Didn't even do that. Just kept quiet, The difference of the two is that these guys, the abundance mindset, they had parents that had a property.
Right.
And these didn't. Their parents barely owned the property that they lived in.
Right.
And they had similar kind of jobs. They were either nurses, worked in factories and so on. That was the only difference. And when I finished uni, I remember one of my friends, his dad said to me, he was probably one of the first HMO landlords, like i.e. licensed, because there was no license then. And I think it was about 2004.
Oh, the good old days.
Yeah, so licensing came out, and he was one of the first license holders in Hounslow, Austerley, which is booming. And he said, get into HMOs. And I was like, HMOs? Like, what are they?
What's a HMO?
And he said, you just rent the rooms out. Oh, that's like what? How do you do that? Like, no way. It was no way for me. It was like, I don't understand it. It's too risky. It's risky just to get a house, right? And to tenant it to a tenant that you have no idea about, let alone now do a HMO.
Right. Let me just jump in there, Umesh, and ask you. What I'm interested to know is when you was at school, obviously, you're a smart guy. You immediately come across as someone, the way you dress, the way you present yourself, like someone who's, a bit of an intellect, who's probably a bit of a bookworm, right? When you was at school, was you sitting there thinking, this is me, I'm a corporate man, I'm going to build my career? Or was there something inside of you that was like, no, I'm going off piste, I want something different? Because, for most entrepreneurs, it normally starts quite early on. So when they're in the classroom, surrounded by that kind of, that way of learning, and everybody's already kind of planning the rest of their life. But for the entrepreneur in the room, it's like, I don't get any of this. I don't agree with any of this. This isn't going to be me. And then they make that decision to kind of go off piste. So was that you? Or if it wasn't you, that's fine, because you're here now.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't me for the corporate, and it wasn't me for I'm going to come up with an idea. I was always that creative person. I'd always look at an angle. I'd always look at something that's happened and how can I modify it or make it better. So I would never really come up with the idea. I would always modify somebody else's idea, mechanic, literally modify somebody else's idea, execute it better, but add value to it. I've always done that. So when I reflect, I think I was doing that from day one. Somebody would write notes for the exam revision, and I'd edit, enhance, and make it better, and then add value to it and dish it out to some other friends. That's
such a skill set, because I'm actually the opposite. So I'm the kind of person that has all these ideas, and I'm like, I know that that's going to blow up, but I don't really know how to do it or where to begin. So I'll have loads of shit written down on paper, but I need someone like you to go, okay, this is how we do it. These are the parts of the puzzle that we need to put together.
And then execute.
Execute it to actually make it happen.
Yeah.
So that's really, really cool. So, all right. So at this time, you're kind of thinking, like, what was you studying at uni? Was it?
So I did business studies with computer science, and I specialized at the last year in computer studies.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you already had an interest. Was you going to go IT anyway? Like always, was that the plan?
I kind of enjoyed it. I liked it, but I liked the business side of it as well. And I never really had a formula of what to do, but I just knew that I wanted it to be like serving. Serving was kind of my core, but I never, at the time, I never knew it was serving. But I just naturally wanted to do things that were support led, helping others. And I think my first role pushed me into a support role. And so a support role, there was two roles that came up actually. One was a nice, good corporate, decent role, working in Bracknell with a company car and a salary, and it was brilliant, like the perfect package, right? And it was creating things, and I loved the package, but something didn't feel right. And then there was another one which was a little bit risky, hourly rate contractor, doing a role that's punching a little bit above the line at the time. And I remember that interview as well. And I said, I've actually never done this before. And I don't even know what this is, but I know this is how I'd find out how to do it.
Right.
And he said, oh, I love that. He goes, we don't know the role. We don't know the role either.
Amazing.
And we just, and I got paid so generously. My first job, it was £28 an hour.
That's big money back then.
It was 18 something, and then you did the extra hours, and it was.
We're talking about what, like 03 or something?
2004.
2004.
Yeah. So I pitched from a £22,000 salary job to a £44,000 role, but I had to take the risk of I might not get paid because there might not be work.
Right. And that's a good lesson actually. I actually know, I've got a good friend of mine who recently, she she's got crippling anxiety around interviews.
Yeah.
And she actually works in the banking world up in London, big jobs, big salaries. But when it comes to interviewing, she absolutely goes to pieces. And what you just said there is important. And this all comes back. It kind of connects back to property, right? Everything, property, business in general, is all about people and relationships and how you come across. And if you sit there in an interview and try and bullshit and blag and lie and speak yourself up, a lot of the time you're just going to get kicked out. But if you sit there and you're like, you know what, I don't really necessarily know exactly how to do that, but you can be sure I'm going to find out.
Or this is how I'm going to find out.
This is how I'm going to find out. Yeah.
I mean, I resonated obviously with, do you know what? I even remember his name off the interviewer, Stephen Robinson. I resonated with him and it worked. Like I got offered that role and then I was like, now what do I do? I got to
actually do
it. And I went with it and I did it. And it was very, very hard. And I, like most people do 37 hours a week, 150 hours a month. I was overtiming 150 hours a month. Damn. So I was doing 150 and overtiming 150 and having a social life. And people just didn't understand how I did it.
I don't understand.
Because you do 2 days and 2 nights as standard. That's 48 hours. But I would do 2 extra nights. And when you finish the last night, you wouldn't go back to sleep until, you'd go to sleep till 12 o'clock. And then you'd crack on. You got the rest of the day. But when you finish your 2 days, you would go out and party and socialize with the rest of your friends, go to sleep really late, wake up really late in time for your night shift.
Jeez.
So it was literally quite a lot of discipline, but it was easy, natural.
Yeah.
You're doing 150 hours of overtime, which is overtime rate.
That's crazy. She was making serious money back then.
Yeah, and it was serious money, serious hard work and graft. Like I would just disappear, working constantly at it. I learned so much in my night shifts. Literally, the people around me. I had one guy that actually taught me how to do the job really, really well. And like till this day, I still keep in touch with him. This is in 2004.
You know what I'm sitting here thinking as the reason why I'm thinking it is because of the date. The date 2004 was a very a year that really stands out for me. So it got me thinking about that and how polar opposite our lives were. So we're the same age and we're both sitting here now today, both doing, a similar thing, both in property, both trying to, carve a decent way of life for ourselves. But you was going down this really, successful, corporate career way, which is amazing. And then 2004, I was a diving instructor living in Thailand. So
living the life, living the dream.
Well, I mean, living my dream, not necessarily everybody's dream, but I was in Thailand for the tsunami of 2004 when the tsunami blew through. So it's a day that always sticks in my mind. But my point is, you went this way, I went that way, and yet we're both here today having a conversation about the same thing, both trying to go in the same direction. So it just highlights the fact that wherever you are right now, if you're working in Tesco's, if you're cleaning toilets in McDonald's, or if you're at the other end and you're in a really high-paying corporate job, but you're also completely miserable, both roads can still lead back to 100%. A place where you can be happy and
100%
successful, whatever you determine that to be.
100%. And I think it was, but this goes back to, when I was saying that my friends' parents were bribing them, it's those bribes that then drove me, because it was like, my parents are not going to bribe me. And I remember coming home saying to my dad and mum, I've just got into uni. And I said, let's sit down. And we had our dining table was actually a really long breakfast bar against the wall. And we sat down and we turned the chairs around to talk to each other. And my dad was like, great, that's amazing, well done. And my mum was like, cool. She goes, but who's going to do my plumbing? Right. Like, who's going to fix the plumbing?
Interesting.
And she was like, why don't you just become a plumber?
Yeah.
Okay,
smart
now
lady.
20 years later, plumbers get paid a lot of money. But she didn't mean it that way. She was like, I need someone to be able to do things around the house.
Okay. She didn't want you going away.
She didn't want me going away. And my dad was almost like, cool. Me, I was like, it's going to cost this. Yeah. My dad was like, he was straight. He was like, well, what do you get at the end of university? And I went through it. I get a degree, I get a good job. And he goes, and what are you going to do with that? And I said, I'm going to buy my first car. He goes, oh, great. He goes, we've got a car that you're insured on. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, okay, why are you telling me this rubbish for? And he's like, well, what's it going to cost? And I told him the degree and he, the cost of university and all that. Oh, cool. And then he said to me, this is where it dropped. How are you going to fund it? And I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah, what do you mean, Dad?
And he goes, well,
Thank you, Mum
how
and
are you
Dad.
going to fund it? And there's me thinking, and I've got this mindset of, well, all my friends' parents are paying for it. And my dad said, well, I don't get that degree at the end of your 3 or 4 years. What am I going to do with that piece of paper? And you getting a 20 grand, 30 grand, 50 grand, whatever job you get doesn't help me because I've got a house and I've got a car.
That's
and
brutal.
I've got you insured on the car, so I have a driver as well. And I was just like, he goes, if you want to go to uni and you want the degree at the end, you need to find out how you're going to do it.
That's pretty awesome, actually.
But I think it's pretty
Life
awesome.
lesson. That's a
100%.
serious life lesson.
100%.
Some people might be thinking, that's selfish, but it's actually a great life lesson.
That's amazing.
That's set in early.
Yeah, it was the best thing. And okay, Dad, you're harsh, but I'll be honest, he's not harsh at all. He was just kind of setting me up in his way to say.
So is that the way it actually went? You had to fund your own uni? Really?
I went outside the front
awesome.
door. I took a picture of my car and I sold it. I had this pride and joy at the time, an 18-year-old boy with a flashy car, and I sold it.
Yeah.
And I traded it as I sold it, 6.5, 7 grand. And I got myself an ex-police car. You could still see the lines on it. You could still see where the stickers were taken off.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, high mileage.
Yeah,
bit beaten
diesel.
up.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was one of those Astras.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
coupe because you didn't have doors at the back.
Yeah, the old Astra
Yeah,
Coupes.
it's brilliant. It's horrible, but brilliant at the same time.
Mate, I had a Rover 414 SLI with a walnut plastic dash for my first car.
But they're lovely.
Well,
Or they were.
at 17, I got ripped apart. It was like an old granddad car. But anyway, that's another story. But that's awesome. So you're in uni, or you're out of uni. You're into the job thing. You're making great money. You're killing yourself, burning the candle. So at what point are you like, where's the exit here? How long am I going to last at this pace?
I just knew that I wanted to get this house that my friends' parents are going to buy them.
Okay, so it was all about
So-
just getting that property.
Yeah, it was right. What do I need to do? I need to build my own thing. And my friend's dad was talking about HMOs, and no, it's too risky for me. And you know what? This is a question for you. Where do you think my first property was?
Your first property.
I'll help you frame it. I live in Maidenhead. I was living at that time in Gerrards Cross,
Okay.
so Berkshire, Bucks
Yeah,
area.
yeah.
I used to work in Milton Keynes in London. Where do you think my first property was? 2004.
I mean, feels like a needle in a haystack question. Is there a clue here? I'm not very smart. Am I missing something?
Okay, so currently my portfolio is 100 plus miles away and I manage it remotely.
Manchester.
No, Toronto. Mississauga was my first property.
Toronto, Canada.
Canada.
What?
Yeah, I went on a holiday. One of my friends, she's really good at uni. Her uncle's in real estate, and he said, "Look, you want to really get on board." And I couldn't find anything here. And here, it was almost like I want a house to live in. And my mum and dad didn't want to move. They didn't want to go down the route of us having a shared bigger house.
Right.
I was in Toronto, found this Tridal off-plan building,
Right.
literally opposite Mississauga. Amazing views. I fell in love with it. And I looked at the numbers and it was like $169 or something $1,000 to buy. And I was like, hold on. And then everything just pieced up. And I went in and I created a problem, which I then found a solution for. The problem was I put a deposit down on this property that I didn't have the funds for.
Right.
So that forced me to go and do the overtime when I got back.
Wow.
And-
That's a pretty ballsy move, right? Buying a
Even
place.
better, where did the deposit come from? It was $12,500. Where do you think the deposit came from? Bear in mind, I just finished university.
Your mates down the pub with all the money?
Oh, I wish. My student loan.
No way.
So literally, like, student loan money was getting banked up. I'd
Yeah.
spend it in the summer. I'd spend it in the year, save it in the summer with working. Spend it in the year, save it in the summer. So
Yeah.
now I'd accumulate it. And literally over 3 years, 12 and a bit £1,000. But I only had like 8.5, 9 of it because I spent the rest. And I used that for my deposit.
I'll tell you what, I don't know how that place did, but I've got a friend, very good friend of mine who's got a place in Canada. And he did really well on it. Have you still got it?
So I sold it when I bought my own family home here after
Okay.
I got married.
Yeah.
And I bought it at $2.54.
Yeah.
Exchange rate was 1.67 or something.
Right.
So you made a killing there.
Yeah.
Plus I bought it off plan.
Yeah.
Plus I had some really good tenants. Plus I learned how to manage a property hundreds and
Yeah.
thousands of
No
miles
shit.
away.
That's a whole new level of remote management.
Yeah. It was brilliant. Honestly, it was an awesome experience doing that. I mean, in some ways, financially, if I'd kept it, it would have been great.
Yeah.
But then equally, I probably wouldn't have the family home. So it's a balance.
Just goes to show the power of property, doesn't it? You know, you invest in property, you can use that as a springboard to then go into bigger things, buy your own family home or whatever it is, just because that, you know, that capital
100%.
appreciation pretty much anywhere in the world, you know, as long as you've got the fundamentals. If you love to travel like me and you understand the power in escaping the money for time exchange trap, but you just don't know how to do it, then building an Airbnb consultancy business could be exactly what you have been looking for. Right now in the UK, there is a completely untapped opportunity through helping struggling Airbnb hosts by turning around their underperforming properties and generating you huge commission payments in the process. We are going to teach you all of the tools and all of the techniques that we've learned over the last 5 years through building our very own multiple six-figure Airbnb business, arming you with everything that you need to swoop in and save the day. Minimal startup costs, zero risk, and almost unlimited potential. Sound good? Welcome to the Airbnb Consultant. Contact us through any of the channels included in the studio notes to get the conversation started. So that was your first dip into property.
Yeah.
And then what happened? Your friend who's telling you about the HMOs, you started listening a bit more? Or?
I didn't. I just, you know, in one ear, out the other ear. But interestingly enough, he always had this abundance mindset, and I refer to him as uncle. And he'd always be giving. He's a giving person. He'd always help you, give you tips, and share stuff. And that went on. I did a few other property things. So I bought like a 2-bed semi. I had this grand view of extending it to the side. Never got to do the extension, but I did build an annex, which I went OTT, made like a bungalow. I went along and did a flat flip. I did a refurbishment. I refurbished another property back to brick all the way just to learn and get the experience.
Wow.
And I still didn't do HMOs. And then it was 2010. I bought a flat in Leicester because I used to work in banking. So I used to work for Alliance Leicester. No, I used to work for Santander, but they bought the Alliance Leicester. And then I had to go there to help with some of the integration work.
Right.
And during that time in Leicester, I was getting married. And I just saw some synergies. And I bought this flat to live in kind of when I'm working there. But I ended up just renting it out. And that was my first stab into Leicester. Got married in 11 and hadn't realised. But my father-in-law was into property and into HMOs.
Ah, okay.
And it was in
So there's the link.
Here's the link. In 13, my father-in-law said to me, he said, so 13, my son was born. It was my first child. And he said to me, forget all these flats. Forget all these little things that you're doing. He goes, you need to build proper property. And I said, well, a flat is a proper property. What do you mean? And he goes, you've got a family to support. And I was like, yeah, but I've got an income, and you know, I'm at this stage. I've been working 10, 12 years, and I've built up a career, and I've got a really good day rate. And he said, no, you've got a family to support. And I said, well, what do I do? He goes, you need to do HMOs. And I was like, penny just dropped. HMOs. That's what my friend's dad was doing 10 years ago.
So he was referring to building like legacy wealth and building something, you know, because this is what people. You know, you can be in a really high paying job and that's great. But if you get sick or if something happens and you fall over and break your leg, depending on obviously the setup at work and whether, you know, however that works. But for a lot of people, especially if you're self-employed, you know, a lot of the time that income stops immediately.
100%. It's like one day you will, right, either not be able to do the job you're doing, not want to do it anymore, or somebody else's ill health or support will force you to find alternative routes of income. And he said to me at that point, he said, you've got a family to support now. you need to be thinking about wealth, but also you need to be thinking about the income you earn, how you can multiply that so you can literally provide for your family.
This was your father-in-law?
My father-in-law. It's 2013.
It sounds like, I don't know, it sounds to me like that could have been quite an intimidating conversation. Did he have you like pinned in the corner of a, like, you got a family to support now, boy?
No,
it like that,
it wasn't. It was almost like a best friend.
Okay, nice.
Like, you know, saying to me, let me help you. And he was like, he was opening his arms up, and he wanted
to be your mentor, basically.
He wanted me to succeed. He wanted to see that I'm flourishing, so that obviously his grandchild could have everything.
Of course.
You know, his daughter could be looked after, and so on. And he just, and also he's quite passionate in what he was doing, and he had built his own wealth up and his own hard graft, and he could see he was a hard worker. So he was like, actually, you need to get rewarded now in different ways.
Yeah.
So he planted that seed, and I still said to him, I don't know how HMOs are like, and I started looking, and I couldn't find anybody. And now you can find 20, 30 people. You know, 2013, I couldn't find many people that were mentors or anyone that could kind of do it for me. And he said, and this is weird, but it's the best part. He said, don't worry, Umesh. He goes, if you say yes, I'll do it for you.
Wow.
Game on.
You lucky
So all I had to do was find the money. So literally, a couple of months later, my dad phoned and said, I've got a house. It's next door to the one I already own. I'm thinking to myself, well, that can't go wrong, can it? You already own the one next door. So I said, yeah, okay, how much do I need? And I was a bit short, which I chucked on credit cards. And I used my offset facility to draw down the funds from my own home. And I went along and bought this house blindly, in a way, right? Completely blind. Because
but guided by
my father-in-law. It's like, I can trust.
So you trust. That's the big thing.
I trust him. I know him, and I definitely like him.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what I was getting myself into, knowing that I've got my father-in-law.
Yeah. And just to kind of highlight that point a little bit about, you know, what we said about if you have a change in circumstances, you lose your job, or, you know, if you're self-employed and you get ill, right? And especially if you've got a family, having property, and it doesn't have to be a huge empire.
No.
Right? You can just have a couple of properties. And I know when I say that to a lot of people listening, they're like, how do you even get one property? But there are ways. And if you can get your hands on the ownership of a couple of properties, if shit was to really go downhill fast.
Or when. It's not if, because it's going to be when, right? There'll be a time when it will happen. It's not if. It's 100% when.
Yeah. With property, as long as you follow some basic fundamentals, depending on the strategy that you're in and what you want to do, there's a very, very good chance that you're going to be able to use those properties to get you out of that tough situation. You know, property always goes up in value. It's always generating an income in some way, some strategies more so than others, but there's no downside really to owning a couple of properties. So I would advise anyone, if you're looking to invest, if you've got the capabilities to get there, focus on just getting, even if it's just one property, get one property under your belt and have that in your back pocket in the future if you need it to kind of carve it off, sell it, or rely on the income for a little bit while you're trying to, you know, find your way out of whatever the situation is. But it's so powerful.
100%. And I say it now, like every family, if you've got one child, you must have at least one additional property. If you've got two, you must have at least two additional properties. That's like my kind of thing. But
that's a good way to think about it.
But actually, it's just like if you've got a child, you've got this vision of making sure that they've got their own bedroom. Forget the bedroom. They can share with you. Think about the extra house that they need. You want the extra house because having a family is difficult. Growing up children in today's world where things are, you know, accelerating out of proportion,
brutal.
It's very, very difficult. And if you think it's difficult now and you think, oh, it was much easier 20 years ago, well, fast forward. And what's it going to be like in 20 years' time? So do it now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I must admit, you know, I don't have kids, and I don't know, like the idea of bringing kids into today's world, to be quite honest, for me is quite a terrifying thought.
It depends on how you look at it,
Just
right?
my opinion.
So think about that, right? That's a mindset thing, right? And it's terrifying and it's difficult because of why. So think about all those people that might be thinking, how are we going to get another house? How are we going to, we can't even afford the house we live in. It's terrifying for them. But if you go back and you look at your reasons why, and you know your reasons why, there won't be anything that will stop you. I knew my reasons why. It's like, I'm not going to get anything handed to me on a plate. My mum and dad were slowly disposing of everything they owned by donating it to charity in front of me, whilst my friends and my circle are getting told that they're going to get new cars and new houses and new watches. And it's like, you're thinking, mum and dad disposing of stuff. And then you see your friends who you're surrounded with getting stuff. And you're like, now what? And you got to do it yourself.
I think that's great, though. You would have learned so much from that, as I'm sure you know that. But, this idea of people, working hard all their life, having the family, and then continuing to work or struggling and scrimping just so they can hold on to the little bit that they've got so they can then hand that to their kids. I don't agree with that. I think that if you've worked hard, even if you've got a family, okay, you want to give them what you can, but you can't spend your whole life till you drop dead scrimping and scraping and saving just so you can give that to your kids when you're gone. Like, otherwise, what was the point in any of it?
Well, I think it comes down to you don't know what you don't know, right? So if that's all you know, then that's all you will do, right? And then it also comes down to you can make decisions, and you have to make the decisions. You have to make the decision that is not the route you want to go down, or you make the decision that you want to stay in that zone, and that is the route you want to go down. So I think it's okay if that's the decision that you want to go with. If you think, well, no, it's not right, and I don't want to do that, then you have to make a decision of, well, what else can I do? And then how do I do it? And who's going to help me do it? And when do I need to do it? Because if you can find out, like for example, you are the what, right? You're the ideas. You come up with all these ideas, and then you need somebody to come in with how you're going to write it in
a book and then put it in the drawer and close the drawer.
Exactly. But if you come up with the ideas and you've got someone that knows how to put those ideas into practice, and then you've got someone who can execute it and find all the different people to get all those bits done, and then you've got someone that can then figure out when you're going to do it. Now, that's your perfect team, right?
Yeah.
That is your perfect team.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've spoken about that, a bunch of times on this podcast, and I'll always continue to talk about it, the importance of collaborations, working with people that complement your weaknesses, not weaknesses, but just, less able than others in certain
things
areas.
You might not even like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You show me a spreadsheet and I'll run a mile, but, my business partner, he, goes to bed with them and cuddles them at night. So, it works perfect. All right, so let's get into the nitty gritty of the property empire building stage. So you got this marvelous figure that drops out the sky into your lap that's going to teach you everything for free. He knows already about HMOs. He's got a couple of
it gets
himself.
Even better. I wasn't interested in learning. He was going to do it.
He was just going to do it.
Yeah. I wasn't interested in learning it. I was quite busy with my day rate, consultancy. I was loving that.
So was that kind of the plan then, just to keep working and just basically give your father-in-law the money to build this?
Well, he found this property. All I had to do was go through conveyancing and buy it, and he was going to refurbish it and extend it and do whatever's needed at that time. I mean, I don't know what it is now, but that time it was like he's going to make it into this HMO, and he's going to get it rented out for me, and I'm going to get the income.
Damn.
That was it. Unfortunately, he passed away a few months after we got the keys. So it was me and my brother-in-law. He passed away in December. It come to January, and my brother-in-law was quite young, 16. But he rolled his sleeves up and he said, "Let's do it." And we had to go and find the trades. We had to go and find the teams.
What? But you kept your job.
I kept
working.
Yeah. I kept working, and we went and found the people, the teams, and we went along. And obviously, he had a bit of experience because he's been exposed to it from his dad. And then with his help, without him, I couldn't have done it.
So you've gone from 150 hours overtime a month to, and then now you're doing HMOs?
Well, 150 hours overtime was in 2004.
Okay, so you brought it back a bit.
Yeah, I brought it back to just, my normal consultancy hours and what have you. And also I had a new boy. So supporting my wife and supporting the family was key for me.
Listen, mate, I tell you what, when I listen to people like, you're like my business partner, he's got, 2 young kids, he's got businesses, he's got, he's working, he's doing this, doing that, he's running his kids all over the place. the time efficiency is unreal, you know. And here's me by myself, just like, you know, trying to find time to go out on my bike or do a workout in between eating, and I'm like, where's the time gone? So it's impressive to me, very impressive.
I mean, I've always been good at juggling. But give me some balls to juggle, and I'll probably not do a good job. I was circus, right? I'm very good at juggling plates, and having lots of things done. And I think I still do that now. In fact, when I try not to do it, it's quite hard not to.
You know, I was having this conversation last night with my good friend in Mallorca, and I'm laughing because I know she's going to listen to this and give me a hard time about it. But I was like kind of in a bit of a down time, and she's so good at giving me kick up the arse and like, come on, like shape up, you know. But I was saying, you know, I've got all this time and I don't have the family, and I should be like lighting the world on fire, and I'm not, and I don't know why. And I was saying, you know, she's like you. She's got so many responsibilities, but still she manages to do 10 times more than me in a tenth of the time. Right, so I pedestalize her and think she's amazing in how she does it. But she was saying, you know, I'm talking from her now. She was saying to me, I have to find the time because I have all these responsibilities, right? So I have to make it work. And she's like, there's nothing wrong with what you're doing. It's just that your back's not up against the wall like mine is.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
You don't have a problem to find a solution for.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I'm reasonably comfortable. You know, I've done semi-okay. Got my place in Spain. You know, I'm like, no, it's pretty good. You know, I don't really need to get up in crazy hours and do, you know, 20 hours a day working, whatever. I'm continuing to grow. But my drive to really hustle, you know, isn't ever, I don't think, going to be as strong as someone who's got the growing family and all the bills pouring in and everything, you know. So anyway, that's how I make myself feel better.
I mean, look, you've got Rolo.
I got Rolo.
Right? So, hey.
Got Rolo. Yeah. It's all good. Actually, Rolo's even my sister's dog, so I don't even have him. I got nothing. Shit.
You can have anything you want.
Yeah.
Just choose wisely.
Yeah. I got a nice bike in Mallorca. I love my bike. Anyway, let's get back to you. So you get the first one ticked off the list. You've now roped in your brother-in-law, right?
Yeah.
Training him up.
I didn't train him up. No. He didn't train me up. He supported and got it done for me. We did it there. He was on
he's
site.
Hands-on.
He's hands-on at 16. You know, we got this HMO done. It's now finished. We've gone through lots of challenges. I've learned everything that I needed to learn through that one project. And at the end of it, we've got it rented to a group of students. Bear in mind, you know, we started this in October, paused in December because my father-in-law, started again in January. It was ready by March, April, went through all the paperwork challenges all the way through till August, got it rented, got it refinanced in September. And this is the beauty of it. So it's nearly a year, right? In September.
But how did you know, or, you know, you just rattled off like a whole bunch of things there. Oh, I got it done and rented it to students and refinanced. You haven't done any training.
I'll be honest, I should have done training, but I went through just self-learning. And I just learned, and I just connected with lots of different people, and I just learned what do I do here, what do I do there.
Because whether or not to go down the student market or the professional market, you know, there's learnings there, and there's questions there.
Yeah, I mean, my father-in-law had a student market business, so we just bolted onto that, and then we got it rented to students, and that was the market for it, and it still very much is. And so, for me, it was the icing was on the cake when it got to September. And bear in mind, I bought this property for just under 140. I've gone OTT on the refurb. Like, people were not doing back to brick refurbs then.
No.
They were not pulling off all the skirtings and the doors and everything.
Especially not for students.
They were spending £10,000-12,000 on fire alarms and just the basic.
Getting up to standards.
Tick. But we went all out. We spent 45 grand on it. And I'm having everyone say to me, "You're mad. It's not the market for it. Why are you doing this?" And I'm saying, because I'm not doing it again. And literally £185,000 we've spent. And the valuation comes in at 250 odd.
Really?
And 205 lands in my bank. And I'm like, hold on a minute. This is £15,000 more than I put in.
All money out deal.
And it's 4.7% interest rate, which is quite high. Okay, to my advantage, we had 85% mortgages. And I took it with Kent Reliance. And they were my best lender. I was like, this is unreal. It's not possible. This is like, no, this doesn't work. This is a fluke.
Yeah.
That's literally how it was.
Lucky one off.
Yeah. But I did it again. And it wasn't. And I was like, no, I've been lucky again.
So the light bulb's well and truly gone off at that
100%.
point.
Because now it's cash flowing.
Yeah.
Now
What kind of an income was that generating?
At that time, it was just over £1,200 a month after paying,
And you got a free house.
got a free house. Yeah.
That's going up in value.
Supposedly, it's supposed to go up in value. But I haven't got that experience because it's my first HMO. Supposedly, these houses go up in price. And yeah, it has. It's probably worth £450,000.
Have you still got that one?
Yeah, I've still got it. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I've got quite a few in Swansea, and we have actually ring fenced them. And for us, those properties are all about the next generation. And next generation doesn't mean we build up houses for them, we hand houses to them, because my dad would never have done that. So the next generation is we fund their education with the funds that get produced from these houses.
Amazing.
So we use the income to fund our children's education. And that would have been like the ideal thing my father-in-law wanted to do. He encouraged me to get into property because of my child being born.
Yeah.
So actually, it's the next generation. So boom.
And what a lovely kind of gift to give to your father-in-law, after he passed away, is where you are now. So it obviously come from him.
Selfishly, I probably didn't do it
conversation,
for him, but when I look back and reflect on it, yeah, it would be a lovely gift. And he was so giving and so generous.
But you've done it for your family, which is
100%.
his daughter, which is for him.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah, you could put it that way.
Yeah. Wow, that's really amazing, and amazing that your first deal was an all money out deal. So did you end up like sharing the income with your brother-in-law? Did you like go into business with him officially, or how did that?
We still are in business.
Yeah.
And he is a million miles an hour. He's keeps himself to himself. He's very, very, very driven. I didn't pay him anything, so I didn't have to pay him. He was my brother-in-law. He did it out of the goodness of his heart. He's a very giving person. He gets it from his dad. And we did the second one and the third one, and we went and did a business together as well. We went and did a commercial to residential, and then at time of build, it was at that point where we decided that actually it's going to be suited to him and his family. Because for me, HMOs are not things that you kind of do and you joint venture on. HMOs for me is very much like, it gets really messy. One entity needs to own it. And that's kind of the way I mean, not necessarily, but it's just the way that I like, because I think HMOs are really for your family.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's just an asset class, really.
Yeah, I guess a lot of people do joint ventures, don't they? Where one will bring the sweat equity, the other one brings the money. But yeah, of course, if you can, maintain full ownership, that's ideal. So how many HMOs did you do for yourself then after that one?
So carried on. So I'm on project 52 now, and that's
52.
Yeah, it's a combination of mine, stuff I've done for clients, and so on. I just carried on. Like we did quite a few in Swansea. My brother-in-law still carries on. He then formed a letting agency and a management agency. So by default, my Swansea portfolio is managed by them.
Yeah.
And literally it's hands-free. And they gave me the hassle-free service because it's my brother-in-law. But I realized now that if I had somebody that was going to do HMOs for me back in 2004, I would have done it then. I didn't have anyone, which is why I created my business to do hassle-free HMOs for clients. That's what forced me to. That's what made me want to do it, really.
Yeah. So did you have like in your mind, I know you're very much, about building legacy wealth for your family, and, so they've got that long-term wealth and support and safety, which is amazing. Did you have like, did you ever sit down and draw like this big vision and blueprint? Okay, I need X amount. It's going to create that much income and to buy this or that. And was there any of that, or was it just...
No, I did it recently. So last 3 years, I've got a 5-year plan.
Yeah.
Ever since joining Property Entrepreneur and working with Dan and Adam and Josh and working with those guys who like you know of Adam and Dan, you know, really genuine, really get into it and help me. Since then, I've got a 5-year plan, and I've got the real nail down, and I can probably show you a piece of paper which everything in there, and you'd be like, wow, that is some serious strategy, Umesh. But prior, it was almost back of a fag packet, knowing like the skeletons of things, knowing that, oh, I wanted a car. Well, that's just going to be another property. So I would never go and buy the car, I'd buy the property. And then I'd use the property to buy the car.
Yeah.
So like every time I treated myself to a new car or something fancy, something had to fund it, and it wouldn't be my income. My income from my day rate job would fund my family lifestyle. So my family lifestyle has been pretty much very good because I use my day rate income to fund it, and I've always used property to fund the additional things that I might want, you know, that people would dream of.
So what would your advice be to, you know, the reality is that most people are really just living week to week, paycheck to paycheck, and that's fine. That's normal. That's the world that we live in for most people, with busy lives and raising a family and just trying to survive, basically, especially in the UK. So they're listening to you, watching you. Oh, it's all good for you, Umesh. You know, you've got these properties, you know, awesome. But you know, you've made all this happen. Like you've just said, you weren't given any of it. You know, you didn't inherit any of it. It was all through hard work and realizing in your mind that you wanted this for your family. Yeah. So what would you say to people who are listening? How should they kind of get out of this, you know, on the hamster wheel? You know, a lot of people, they don't even have the spare time in the day, or at least they don't think they do. But they choose to spend that a lot. A lot of people choose to spend that time. The truth is, you know, people might not want to hear it, but the truth is there's a lot of time, spare time in the day, and they just choose to spend it in the pub, watching Netflix, on TikTok, whatever. What would your advice be to get people kind of out of that circle?
I think they've got to really realize their reasons why. So they might not want to get out of that circle, and they might have a really strong reason why to stay in that circle or in that place. If you know you want something else, you've got to figure out what that something is, and then you need to know why. And a good friend, Akesh, he says to me, you need to know why, and then you need to know the why for the why, and then you need to know the why for the why. The why. So you have 3 whys.
Keep asking a question.
And when it's really strong, there won't be anything that stops you. Like I can tell you, since the 23rd of October, since I figured out one of my whys, there has not been a single day I have not walked. And I've done my walking every single day since. No matter what's going on, I'm going to get on a flight. Do you know what? Get up an hour earlier and get my walk in. And I have done my walk every single day since then. Because I know my why. Sometimes I've let it go till the afternoon until I've remembered my why again. So for these people that are thinking that they need to do or they want to do something else, they've just got to figure out why. And if the why is genuine and is real, there won't be anything stopping them. They've just got to find the why, and that's it. Powerful. Getting out and doing the things is easy because in my case, it's about who. So who's going to help you? Do you need to know how? Go and find yourself a training course. Do you need to know who's done it and a few steps ahead of you? Go and get a mentor who's done it, who's 5 years ahead of where you are, and get them to coach you and to help you. Do you need players out there? Do you need to learn everything? Not really. When you go into a restaurant and you order a meal, do you really need to know how to cook, how to make that food? You just order it and it comes out on a plate and you enjoy it. Well, you can do the same with everything else in life if you really want to. And some people want to create it, which is why they don't go out to restaurants and order meals, because they want to create at home themselves.
Yeah. Something I'm interested in, like what you just said just then about, I haven't missed a single walk, and we're going to talk about exactly what that means. But that level of consistency and determination, do you think is that in you? Do you think that's something that you can learn and be taught? Or do you think you're either like that or you're not?
I used to think you were either like that or you're not. But I think that you can learn it, because I have been very variable, but I can be very consistent in lots of things. And you can 100% learn it, because it is a learnable trait.
Do you think it's something that kind of comes with For me, I really feel like over the last kind of 10 years, like I've really changed who I am, what I want, what I consider to be important, and I just feel like I've changed a lot, and I feel like it's come a lot with maturity, and seeing the days just like passing by. I'm like, shit, I've got to get my game together here.
Yeah.
If I want that, I've got to do that every single day.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just interesting to me whether or not it's something that you can just wake up one day and go, you know what, I'm fucking sick of looking at all these other people that have got all this shit and being jealous. I'm going to go and get it. And I'm now going to become that person. Or is it genuinely the fact that you might really want that, but you're just not built that way? I don't know what the answer is to that.
Well, if you really want something, you'll really go and get it. You obviously don't want it enough to go and do it, right? And I think it does come with maturity. Things do change and you do grow. And as you mature, different things will happen. But ultimately, if there's something you want, you'll go and get it.
You'll go and make it happen.
Yeah, you'll find someone that will make it happen for you, but you will make it happen. Like some people, here's an interesting one. I was walking in the rain and my mum said to me, she goes, "Where are you going?" And I said, "Mum, I'll ring you back in 10 minutes. I just want to get out." And she said, "It's raining." And
you said, "I don't care."
I was like, what? I didn't know what to say. And I was just like, "Mum, I'll call you back in 10 minutes. Let me get out." Because I was like, I'm not going to waste this time on my phone sitting in my room when I can just be out doing my walk, and I need to get out and get my walk done. So I got out, I had my rain jacket on, had the headphones in. I'm talking to her and she said, "You're mad, it's raining. What are you doing going out for a walk? Where are you going? Does your car not work?" And I said, "Mum, Mum, one sec." I said, "Have you brushed your teeth yet?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "But it's raining." "Why'd you brush your teeth? It was raining." And she said, "I still got to brush my teeth." And I said,
every day.
Yeah. And I said, "Well, I still got to do my steps."
Yeah.
That's what I got the rain jacket for.
Yeah.
And that wasn't my mindset years ago. It was always like, I've got to get my emails done. I've got to get this done. I've got to get that done. Now, if I need to do an email or firstly, I don't really look at many emails, but if I need to, I'll do it when I'm on my walk. I'll do WhatsApps on my walk. How many times do you hear people say, walking and talking? Why? I think I even said to one of my clients the other day, I was like, if you want a call with me, go into my calendar and book a call. But if you can't find a slot, actually, you can book a walk and talk call with me.
Oh, right. Okay.
Right? Because it's not on Zoom, but it's a walk and talk. And they were like, "Yeah, we'll do that." Because they didn't want to wait 2 weeks to get an appointment in.
Walk and talk with
Walk and
Umesh.
talk. Why not?
Yeah.
It works, right? People just want to talk to you about something or the other, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a professional environment on a Zoom call with a nice background. You just got to be yourself, however that is. So
yeah, I do think that it's definitely something. There are some younger people out there that have all of these inequalities, the drive and the dedicated, committed, all that stuff, and that but I think they're few and far between. I think for the most part, a lot of this stuff, it does come with just growing older, a bit more mature. You're starting to see, okay, time's ticking. I want this now. I've got to work for it, and I'm only going to get it by doing this every single day. I mean, I notice it myself, like how much I've changed. I getting older and appreciating things. If I see a bench and the sun's out, I'm like, I'm just going to go sit on that bench and just feel the sun on my skin.
But when you were growing, maybe, and you were trying to, fight that pound 10, 15, 12, or however many years ago it was, you might not have done that. You might have been on a mission to go and get something else done. So,
I've got to get to the shop and get a bottle of White Lightning. I ain't got time to sit on the bench.
Exactly. Like nothing comes without sacrifice. And if you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else, whatever that might be. If you say yes to Netflix, you're saying no to something else, right? And it's very, very easy to say yes to lots of things and then say no to the things that might be the most important to you. Yeah.
It was something stuck in my mind. What Alex Hormozy, what something he said when he was chatting to a friend of his, and his friend was saying a lot similar to these lines, like, I haven't got enough time in the day and I just can't find the time to get this project off the ground. And Alex said to him, "Do you watch Netflix?" And he went, "Yeah, I watch Netflix." He went, "How much Netflix do you watch?" "About 2 hours an evening." So there you go. I just found you some time.
There you go.
It's just get rid of all the shit.
And a portfolio didn't just come overnight. It didn't just land on my plate. Like I've got a 6-year-old and a 10-year-old, and I've got this portfolio. Bear in mind, I started building it when my son was just born, right? So it's like 7 years. So how did you do that? Like, hold on. And you had a full-time job. So how did you do it? It's because my son used to go to sleep at 7:15 every day. But you wouldn't find me hanging around, messing around in the evening. He was in bed, and at 7:30, I would be back on my computer until 10, 11, 12, 1 at night, doing all of the things needed for conveyancing, planning, financing, drawings, all of that stuff. I'd be doing it all evening, and then I'd go to bed, and then wake up again and start the routine again. So...
And I think
it's consistency.
Also something that allowed you to do that was that you was with a partner who supported that.
Oh, 100%.
Right? So that's massive, and that can't be played down, because there's a lot of partners, not just women, men as well, depending on which way it goes. They say, all right, kids are in bed. Come on, let's go put the film on. Come on, let's go to the, get a bottle of wine out and all the rest of it. And if you don't do it, it can cause some problems. So, she was fine with you disappearing into the office once your kid was in bed.
Well, we had certain days that we did then. So we had because you have to imagine as a mother who's just given birth and the first time, they need time as well.
Yeah, of course.
So we had our given days in the week. We had almost like a rota, right? Bear in mind, I've just come off 10 years ago of night shifts and rotas. So rotas to me is like normal. And it's like, actually, we put a rota in. These 2 nights are your evenings. You do what you like, when you like, and so on. And these 2 nights are mine. So don't worry about the kids. I'll pick him up and I'll get him to bed and I'll do all that. And so because we had our given days, out of the 4-night week, 2 nights potentially she might be out or she might be doing whatever she wanted to do. And so those 2 nights I'm on my own. So I would do my work.
Yeah.
And then the other 2 nights, they're mine. And I would do my work. So
it's a choice.
Yeah, you got 4 nights, and then you've got the night that we're together, and then you've got the weekend, and so on. And at the beginning, she did support me on a Saturday, because on a Saturday I'd go out and do my property stuff where I needed to, but not every single Saturday. And 100% I agree with you that it gets really, really underplayed on how much the other person does.
Oh, it's massive.
It's massive. So like where I'm doing lots, it's because there's support on other things in my life that, Anita does. And where she's doing lots is because there's support in her life on what I do. And my wife runs a law firm, and she started this law firm a year after my son was born as well. So she's been full flex in a law firm, running this business, created it from scratch, doing incredibly well with it, because the 2 of us, and I'm really good at juggling, so the 2 of us have been able to juggle things, and it's been massive with the amount of support we've had, because I am very much a who's going to help with what, and that's what it is. It's your team.
Amazing.
You might have a cleaner, for example. Well, that is still your who that's coming to help you. You might have a gardener, and that is your who.
Sure.
It's still somebody, right? You might have a parent or grandparent that's come to babysit every now and again. They are all your power team.
Yeah, all bringing something to the table 100%. To help you move forward.
Yeah.
But it is so important. I've spoken about it before, like who you've got next to you when you're going on that journey. I've had to, end relationships because I wasn't allowed. I felt restricted. I'm trying to move forward. I'm trying to grow, and you're being held back by someone who's going in a different direction. Nothing wrong with what they're trying to do, but it's not aligned with where you're going. So you've got this constant push and pull. You're trying to put in some extra hours in the evening, and they want to do something completely different because they don't see what you see, or they don't want what you want. And that can only go one way, into a brick wall.
100%. And I don't think that Anita has always wanted what I've wanted, but what she has wanted is for me to know what I wanted. Yeah. And so she just supported whatever it was, whatever I want to do. She's just like, that's cool if you want it. And she'll support, and vice versa. It's because it works. We are a partnership that works really, really well, right? Every relationship has to work in some way or the other. And like, she knows what she brings to the table, and I know what I bring to the table. And it's just like a JV, right? Yeah. When and we know what we both don't bring to the table as well. And so what we know, there's a whole load of things that we don't both bring to the table. So we go and find other people to bring that to the table for us.
Yeah.
Like what? I'm not going to say that there isn't, because there is.
Yeah, of course. We've all got
100%.
weaknesses. We've all got strengths.
Of
just the way
course,
it is.
yeah.
Umesh, time is like double time. There's a lot.
We could go on for hours, right?
There's a lot of good stuff here. Right, we've now established that you're the HMO guru. You've got all these. You've done
52 now.
52 projects. A big chunk is your own.
Yeah.
You also basically, you do. So you're doing the whole process for investors. You're sourcing. You're doing, the works. You're doing the rentals. You're doing the whole thing.
Whole thing end to end.
End to end.
All you got to do is find the money.
Find the money.
Right, and even that will help you with.
Yeah.
Right. So all you got to do
one-stop shop.
You've literally got to say you want a HMO, and that's it.
Right.
And then we'll find the property for you.
That's awesome.
And we're only going to find you stuff that we'd want ourselves.
Yeah.
We'd find the property for you. We'd go through conveyancing with you and for you. We'd go and help you finance it with the right brokers and the power teams and all the things you don't know. We'd go and get all the teams to go and refurbish it and, put the loft conversions on and optimize the layouts and the plans and the internals and everything. We'd get it licensed for you. We'll even put our name on the license so that you don't need to worry about the risk factor or, oh my God, I've got all these licensing requirements. We'll do all that for you. We'll get it certified. You've got this beautiful asset that's just got extra equity in it. We charge you a simple one-off service fee, because on the back end, there is no way you're not going to want us to let and manage it for you.
That shit. I'm like, where do I sign up?
Because there's no way you're not going to want us to let and manage it for you now, right? Because
we've
just done everything on it.
The trust has been built throughout every process.
100%.
So I can just give you the money.
You don't even need to give us the money. You pay the solicitor, you pay the teams. You don't even if you don't have the trust yet, you don't need to pay us.
Yeah.
But you take our instructions on who to pay and when to pay.
Shit. So I can just lay on a beach and come back to a ready-made HMO.
Of course you can. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And that's how it should be, right?
Yeah.
And I won't drop dead. And if I do, right, and things happen. And if I do, that's why I built a team.
Yeah. That's friggin' amazing. I'm definitely going to check you out. Check out Umesh if you want to build a HMO portfolio. As we come to the end here, I just want to get off the property stuff. I think we've established that you're incredible what you've done. Very, very inspiring. Just basically follow what he's done and do the same, and you'll do great.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, it's true. It's and sometimes I've found that when I'm sitting here with guests and you hear their story and then I look at them and I'm like, man, what you've done is incredible, and from where you've come from to where you are now and all the shit that you went through in the meantime, not shit, but having a family and juggling the job and building the portfolio and dealing with bereavements with family and all that kind of stuff, to go through all that and be here today with what you've done and what you've built and all the multiple businesses as well. I mean, that's friggin' awesome, right? So kudos to you for doing that. Really, really, really good stuff. And shows that it's possible, right? To other people that are sitting at home that aren't born with a silver spoon or aren't, obviously, entrepreneurial at the beginning. This stuff's still possible. You just need to really,
I think that's
really
the key,
want it.
right?
Yeah.
Everything's possible.
Yeah. Just really need to want to do it.
Yeah.
So I want to spend just a few minutes talking about this walk-in thing.
Okay.
Be honest, don't know much about it. You mentioned it when you came in. You've mentioned it in the podcast. Is it some charity stuff that you're doing?
So I got involved in Get Up and Give Back last year. And Get Up and Give Back is a charity initiative that Dan Hill set up as part of PPN.
Yeah.
And it's great. Last year, I supported my wife. So I had initially said, no, I'm not going to do it because of the commitment. But my wife said, I've just signed up to walk into Snowdonia and it'd be really nice if you came with me. And I was just like, yeah, I'll do it for you.
Walk into Snowdonia?
Well, it was get there and then walk up to Snowdonia.
I was going to say, it's a bit weird just to get there and turn around and walk back.
So it was walking, you're doing the Snowdonia hike.
And then go up, yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, okay, because I'm supporting my wife. If I had weighed it up properly and all the rest, I'd already said no to it. Mm-hmm. But when my wife said, I'm doing it, I said, oh, really? I don't want to do this. And she said, yeah, but it'd be nice for us. And I was like, okay, cool, right? Those moments when you don't want to do it.
It's a long way away. So
but also, it's your partner and you want to, but you want to get out. You don't want to get out your comfort zone. So I said yes, I did it. I'd never raised funds for charity or anything like that before. My family's always been very used to giving money to charity, but never really raising funds for charity. And I said yes. And Dan Norman, who runs the kind of sequencing and the challenges and organizes it and does a really good job of it, he said, Umesh, you'd be great. And I went, and I was at the spa, and I said to him, no.
Yeah.
No.
I'm much better in the spa.
I said, look, this is my year of balance. And I said, this year it's about me getting balance back for me. And doing something like that is going to take the balance away from me. And he said, I understand. And then he signed up, and I went and did it. So I did this, and I raised funds. I went and seeked. I didn't do any prep, I'll be honest. So people say good luck, and I say to them now, it's not good luck, it's good prep, because it's not good luck, and I just relied on good luck. And I did this walk with Anita, and we went all the way up to Snowdonia, all the way to the top, and it was a challenge.
Yeah.
And I hadn't walked at all. But we raised just under £5,000. And that was last year.
Yeah.
And then this year, with all the things going on, and because I had decided I was going to do walking in October, I literally went along and did the same with Get Up and Give Back. I said, I'm going to do, it's 5 years of Get Up and Give Back. It's 5 charities. It's 5 challenges. It's 5 weeks. And I said, that's what I'm going to do. And guess what? I did 500k steps in 5 weeks, and it was a slug because there were some days that were quite hard. I went to Abu Dhabi in May, and it was burning hot, and I didn't care. And I just went out, sun cream, no sun cream. I just got my steps in, and it was amazing, to be fair.
500,000 steps.
500,000 steps, 5 weeks. So it's 100,000 a week. It's not, now I can look at it and say it's not much, but it's hard graft.
Well, it's a commitment.
Yeah.
It's definitely a commitment. I tell you, you talk about walking. Me and a mate of mine, my best mate, we signed up for the walk from London to Brighton.
Oh yeah.
Is it a charity thing? Yeah, it was a charity thing because we had to raise a certain amount in order to do it. And, I'm a reasonably fit guy, right? Didn't think I'd need to do any kind of prep. And I think I could have done it, but where I went wrong, and God knows what I was thinking. But I got up in the morning and I just chucked on an old pair of Skechers slip-on shoes. Why I did it, I don't know. 40 miles in.
Lack of prep.
40 miles in. I mean, my feet were literally just bones. All my skin was gone. And I just collapsed. I was like, I cannot go anymore. I think he got to about 50 odd. He did better than me, but we were both in pieces and we were hobbling around for days after. So, yes.
I lost 4 toenails.
Yeah.
With, because year. Walking up, but walking back down, and your feet are hitting.
Hitting the inside of the...
Yeah, and I'm wearing hiking shoes because I got told to buy hiking shoes, and I went out and bought all this nice gear, and it's hard graft.
When I see the people like the David Goggins and these guys, and you see them running with... and they've got massive boils and they're popping them and pulling toenails off and they're still going. I'm like, man, that is a different species of human being. Yeah. That's a different mind altogether, because the pain when shit's rubbing in there and you got sand in there or whatever, and you've got another however long to go. Wow.
But it's like every challenge. If you knew exactly what was involved all the way through, you probably wouldn't do it. If you knew what it's like to be married, you probably wouldn't do it. If you knew what it's like to have children, you probably wouldn't have them. You have to go through and actually, you've heard people say, enjoy the journey. And it is the journey. And you do have to enjoy that experience. We, within Property Entrepreneur, we've got a massive community. And if I think I did 500,000 steps in 5 weeks, some of these guys did 3 peaks, national peak, swimming, walking, cycling. They did all the 5 challenges. And there's me just doing the walking. I did nothing in comparison.
But then that motivates you to want to do more, right?
100%, yeah. And all for charity. This year for me, it was all about cancer. And it was like, it was the best thing that I've done this year so far. I mean, there's hundreds of things, but I'm really proud of that.
There's something just so amazing about giving back. We've done some charity stuff, and just being able to give back, and because it gives you, it makes you appreciate like how lucky we are to literally be able to just wake up in the morning and get out of bed. You're already winning. Yeah, you're already on the front foot. You're like, I can stand up. I mean,
you're
breathe.
Awake, right?
Yeah, I'm awake. I can breathe. I've got 2 arms, 2 legs.
Yeah,
I'm already winning.
Yeah.
So anything after this is a bonus.
Because some people might not wake up, right?
But it's just, the way that we're programmed. It's like if I gave you a Lamborghini, I don't know, maybe you got one, sounds like he has, but if you don't, and I gave you one today, after a month, you're probably not going to be smiling every day you drive.
Because I've already
it
have
becomes
it.
a Lamborghini.
Exactly.
You know, it just becomes another car.
Yeah.
So it's way we're programmed. We just get used to what we've got, and it's like, now I want more.
And do you know what? It's funny you say that, Lamborghini, because I've got a Lamborghini and I'm selling it now.
See? I knew it.
Because guess what? I stopped appreciating it.
Yeah.
Because I've got this car and I don't appreciate the car. At the beginning, I loved it. I go on my road trips annually. So I've got this car really for an annual road trip. But I'm not appreciating it. So I've got rid of it just because actually I don't need it and I don't want it. And I don't need the ego. I don't need to know I've got a Lamborghini. Like, get the ego. And little by little, because everyone's got ego, and I'm getting little by my ego and just getting rid of it, because I don't need it.
Ironically, every time I turn on the heated seats in my Ford C-Max, I'm like, I fucking love this car.
Yeah.
I love it.
And we don't really have a summer, but really you want the AC seats.
Well, the AC seats, yeah. The thing I love the most is my scooter in Spain that I zip around on, in a pair of shorts and a pair of flip-flops.
Oh, you must love
Nothing
that.
Nothing better. That's what I'm all about. Right, Umesh. So much good stuff there, so much knowledge, so much inspiration, you know, amazing. And I just got one last question before we wrap up that I like to ask all my guests. Ask you to be a little bit vulnerable, if you don't mind, if you're comfortable with it. But it's around mental health. I'm a big advocate for mental health. A lot of people struggling in the world today. A lot of people, I think social media's got a big part of it. They're looking at other people. Everybody's comparing themselves. Everybody's doing amazing on social media, sharing just the wins, right? Never really sharing the struggles or the failures. And I think that's leading into a lot of people that feel bad about themselves and all the rest of it. And it's easy to look at someone like you, got the Lamborghini, got all the properties, got the family. And I'm looking at you and I'm like, this guy's got it made, right? He's got the perfect life. You know, what more could a man want? He's got the kids, the successful wife, law firm, properties, Lamborghini, business, property. And it's easy to look at you and say, he's got it all. So really the question is with everything that you've got, every day in yourself, are you happy? Are you happy? Do you wake up mentally happy and strong, or do you still have wobbles even where you are today?
That is an amazing question, honestly, right? Because genuinely, I think when I worked in 9 to 5, I think I'd wake up with a few wobbles and I felt like I had to do certain things. But now, not at all. I wake up, I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm up every day on time. My wife is like, you're mad sometimes. But guess what? She's so supportive. It's quite easy. I think when you do things that take energy from you, like walking, like exercise, they actually give you energy back and they actually look after your mental well-being.
Yeah.
So if I wasn't doing my walking in the morning or at any point in the day, I don't think I'd be in the nice, well-balanced mindset that I'm in. That's 100%.
So you don't ever have any kind of anxieties around the fact that you've got this family and you've got businesses to juggle, and you know, do you never get any moments where it's like
Yeah, I do. I get those moments, but it doesn't throw me off balance because I've got a really, really good network around me. I'm part of Property Entrepreneur. I've got a really good friend circle that support anything I kind of need. I'm part of a mastermind group. If I have an issue, I can ping at least 12 people and one of those people will be able to help me.
Right.
I never had that before.
Yeah.
So surrounding yourself is really important. Even the way up, somebody pinged me from the group and said, I need a 5-minute chat on LDC. I was like, no problem. I gave him a 20-minute masterclass on how not to worry about what his professionals are telling him. And it was just like how amazing that was for him, but also for me, knowing that I could give that back. So I don't have those type of anxieties. You get the anxiety like, you know, you got a flight tomorrow, right? And you might not sleep properly. I get that, of course. You know, I monitor a lot of things that I track. So, I track a lot of things that that I want to monitor, like my sleep.
Yeah.
I'm in bed by 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Right. You know, yesterday I went to bed at 10:30 because I was sorting a few things out, but that 10:30's pretty late for me.
Yeah. And it's the same thing that I hear like over and over on this show. You know, I sit here with entrepreneurs and successful people. Everything, I could almost sit here and draw like a roadmap of traits that everybody has. Going to bed early, getting up early, exercising, all of these different, things that they commit to that they won't give up no matter what, whether it's raining, whether it's 1,000,000,000 degrees. It's a mindset, it's a lifestyle, it's inside of you, and it's all of these things collectively that make someone successful. Not just in a monetary sense, but in life,
in
who
anything.
they are, how they walk, stand, communicate, present themselves. Immediately when someone like that walks into the room, they're like, okay, this guy's got something about him, or this lady, she's serious. And it's all of these things that accumulatively add up to that. So, yeah. Awesome, man. Great answer. And appreciate you, let me dig into you a little bit around that.
Thank you.
Guys, if you, I don't even need to say it, but if you've got any interest in HMOs, if you are working your nuts off in a job and you're like, you know what, I need an exit from here at some point. I don't have the time, the desire, the knowledge, or the ability to do this myself, and you literally just want to hand someone some money and get a ready-made HMO, then Umesh is your guy. One-stop shop, right? Every single part of the process, you need to be getting in touch with Umesh. We're going to put all your information in the show notes of the podcast. So you're going to have all of his socials, all of his emails, so you can just contact him and have a chat around how we can help you escape the rat race or get out of your day job at some point and build your own lifestyle by design like this guy.
Thank
so that's
you.
it.
Appreciate that.
Anything
Thank you
else
so much.
that you want to add in there?
I do actually.
Go on.
I want to say how we connected, because that was really, really important, right?
Okay.
So you see a lot, and I was talking to you when we walked in. It's like you see a lot of stuff on social media, and you can spend your whole life consuming. And in the small amount of time that I do spend on social, and I was scrolling through, and I saw your video, and I was just like, look how genuine that is. And you can just smell it. I mean, a phone, and you can smell it, right? And it was just like, right, perfect, boom. And look how quickly we connected. It was just like, and look at it, it's just been so natural, so genuine. So finding genuine people, when you do find a genuine person in your life, you got to hold on to it, because it's what you do and what you think and how you are and being your best self that will get you the success. Nothing else. Forget everybody else. Just be your best self.
Your network's your net worth, right? Surround yourself by good people.
Yeah.
Appreciate the words, brother.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming on.
You.
And appreciate you guys listening. And we'll see you next week on another episode of the Airbnb Nomads podcast.